Let me go into slideshow. So, Ishvara, the Lord Himself, Jiva, all living beings, Prakriti, nature, amidst whom we all of us live, and all our sustenance happens through nature. You all agree? Whether it is grains, whether it is vegetables, whether it is pure oxygen, everything comes from Mother Nature. So Prakriti plays the most important role in all our lives. Karma, I was on karma, activity. In simple words, it has a lot of meanings to know and discover, but broadly, it is activity. And the last is Kala, that is time. So these are the five truths of Gita, which Krishna tries to explain to all of us, and of course Arjuna, who was his most dear friend. I just want to ask, am I clear?
Yes, boss.
Okay.
Yes, very much.
Okay. Any questions on the first slide?
Yeah, Jiva means including vegetables because, I mean, plants, it is also supposed to have life.
Exactly. So Jiva is like, in short, any living being, from insect to shark, whale, it could be aquatic, it could be birds, it could be insects. So anything which has life, which also includes plants, is known as Jiva. So it is really a phenomenal universe that we are living in. So these are the five truths we are going to discover today. And of these five truths, there's only one which is not eternal. That's surprising for all of you. Ishvara, of course, is eternal. And Jiva, we are also eternal. Let's see how. Prakriti, eternal. Kala is eternal. The only thing which is not eternal is karma. And the whole focus in Gita is how do we make this karma change? Because karma defines our destiny. So a very interesting topic, and Krishna tells, okay, I will tell you the way, how you are bound by karma and what can you do to come out of karma. There is a way which he has shown us. And Ishvara is, of course, the controller of all of us. All the five things are under his supreme control. With this, let's jump to the first truth. Why does this not work? Yes. Ishvara, Supreme Godhead Krishna. Here, let's look at it. It looks like a very busy slide, but then let's look at what are the key messages that we should understand today. Gita gives us the definition of God. Today, most of us have an understanding of God only through depiction. We know him as Saraswati, we know him as Ganesha, we know him as Vaishnodevi, we know him as 33 crore deities in this world. And most of us have a vague understanding of what Ishvara is. So Gita says, start with understanding me first. So what is Krishna? In Sanskrit, it means the all attractive one. It is defined as Sarva Akarshati iti Krishna. Describes the attractive nature of the Lord. What is the definition of the Lord? Very simple. We are not talking about a big verse, even though there are many verses. Sarva Karana Karanam. That is, if I have to take this from here, Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna is the cause of all causes. Now, it may look a little profound. What is cause of all causes? If we were to reflect and ask this question to ourselves, let's look at our cause. Who is our cause? Our parents. Who is their cause? Their parents. So, all of us have a cause by which we came into this world. Krishna says, I am the supreme. There is nothing which has created me, but I am creating everything. I am the controller, I am the maintainer, and I am the destroyer. So I have said he's the source, shelter, and summit of everything. This is the definition of God. And there is a very famous verse in Srimad Bhagavatam which says, Ete chamsha kala pumsa krishnastu bhagwan swayam indrari vyakulam lokam mrudayanti yuge yuge. In short, it says that any incarnation, either plenary portion or portion of the plenary portions of the Lord, Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. No confusion, no doubts. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the theists. Theists are his devotees. So we know the definition of God. And then you see three different photographs which I have shown on the left side along with Krishna. First, I saw a rose. It's a beautiful looking flower. Now, I have also said, can a rose come into this world without a source? Not possible. And I have also said, if we had a lot of time, we could have made it even more interactive. But since we have only 1 hour, I am giving you the answer as well. So the source of the rose flower is the seed. Now let's look at what's the difference between a natural rose and the rose that man can create. Let's give this task to the best painter in the world, Ravi Verma. He creates a rose flower in a painting. It looks beautiful. You can't beat it. It looks red. It's as real as it can get compared to a real flower. But then, what's the difference? It's quite easy to say. It's in 2 dimensions. It does not have fragrance. And you cannot, it will not have thorns when you try to pluck it. So, what is the message? The message is, the painting was also created. Mr. Ravi Verma, who is supposed to be one of the best painters in the world, had to put in effort to create a painting of the rose. So a painting has a source. So a real rose also has a source. And that's the seed. Look at a lovely painting which I have shown on the other side. It's a nature painting. Yes, a painting can happen only when there is a painter who puts an effort to create it. I have shown you the best car because all of us live in this 21st century. Can you tell me that is there any car which is not manufactured? Impossible. So every car has an OEM who makes the car. So the message is, if there is creation, there has to be a creator. There has to be a maintainer. And there has to be a destroyer. And if you connect this understanding with the definition of God, we have started the journey of understanding the Lord, the Supreme. What are his features? He also tells us this in Gita. He says, you remember me as Sat, Chit, and Ananda. What is Sat? Eternal. What is Chit? Consciousness. And what is Ananda? Blissful. And we are part and parcel of Krishna, and we have all these 3 features in us, in any living being. We can go forward and see how this is true. Any questions so far? Let me pause. If you have no questions, let's continue. And if you have questions, we can even discuss at the end of the session. I'll definitely finish before time so that we have a few minutes to discuss all your questions and doubts. This slide, again, looks at, it looks complex, but then it's not as complex as it appears to be. So what I have shown on the left side, the first picture shows you the Lord has 3 features. And you can see him, you can understand him, and you can relate to him in any one of these. And this is quoted again in Bhagavatam. It's not that we are trying to communicate this. It is in the scriptures. It says, Vadanti tat tattva vidas, tattvam yagnanam advayam, brahmeti, that is Brahman, paramatmeti, that is Paramatma, bhagavaniti sabdyate, that is the last form of the Lord Bhagavan. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. So we as human beings have the choice, have the free will to choose which form of the Lord we want to understand. Now, whenever we talk about these forms, it becomes slightly difficult to understand. So what I did, so I said, let's discuss this with an example. So if you see just below that, I have shown you sunlight. And all of us agree that sunlight is something which is part and parcel of our lives. We can see it, we can relate to it, and we all live because of sunlight. Now, sunlight, the radiation, the brilliance of sun is the Brahman realization of the Lord. You can see him as bright light. And there are many yogis who see the Lord as sunlight and believe that the Lord is only light. That's one realization. You can stop there. It's not that you go further. The choice is yours. But Gita gives us the roadmap. It says, you want to realize me as Brahman? Please feel free so. Now, if we are serious students of trying to understand the message in Gita, we should start looking at what is Krishna trying to tell us. Why is he talking to us about Paramatma? If Brahman realization was sufficient, why go to Paramatma at all? The beauty of that is, he says, Paramatma feature of the Lord is within each one of us. It is very surprising. We try to search Lord everywhere. We go to temples, we do so much of pujas, we pray to him, which is our duty. But Krishna is saying, please realize you don't have to go anywhere. I am within you. That is the Paramatma feature of the Lord. So a Gnani who is interested in knowledge, there is Gnana Yoga, as you will see in the further slides. A Gnana Yogi tries to realize the Brahman feature of the Lord. A yogi in meditation, Paramatma tries to realize the Paramatma feature of the Lord. And a devotee of Krishna tries to realize the Bhagwan, which is the personal feature of the Lord. All the forms of the Lord that we see in temples is the Bhagwan feature of the Lord. So going from the example, so sunlight is reality. That's the Brahman feature. Sun glow of sun light is coming from the sun globe. That is the Paramatma feature. And sun star. Sun is a human. It's a being. It has a shape. It has size. It has form. It has weight. It has mass. So sun star is the Bhagwan feature of the Lord. All three are truths. Every living moment. You can't take away sunlight from the sun globe. You can't take away the sun star from the globe and the light. So this is the intricate understanding of the Lord. It sounds difficult when we first hear about it. But when we start getting used to reading Gita, trying to digest what Krishna tells us, this becomes very easy to relate and understand too. And the beauty of devotion is, Krishna says to Arjuna, if you are able to move your consciousness to me, from Brahman to Paramatma, that is step one. I'll be talking about this further also. And then if you move towards Bhagwan, when I am talking about Paramatma feature, you will see in the next slide also, Paramatma, he doesn't talk to us. That's the beauty of Paramatma. He is a witness. He says, I will be with you all the time. So you are never alone in this world, but I will only be a witness. I will not do anything, because that is the Paramatma feature of the Lord. Now, we all have hopes on, whenever we have difficulty, we want the Lord to help us. Lord says, if you understand, if you realize my Bhagavan feature and pray to me as a person, that is a personal feature of the Lord, then I reciprocate. So the journey of Gita is to realize that we have three features of the Lord, and through efforts, we should relate to Paramatma who is within us, and then invoke Bhagwan understanding so that he can start reciprocating to our prayers. So this is the journey of devotion. Excuse me. This is spirituality. In short, nothing else. We realize the Lord within us, and then we relate to him as Bhagwan. That is spirituality. This slide is just the summary, and I want to leave one message here is, we may not have time to read the entire Gita. So I have shown you one sloka, and that is 10.8. You can make a note of this as well. 10.8, 10.9, 10.10, and 10.11. These 4 verses, these are known as the Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita. If you read these 4 slokas, if you are not able to find time to read 700 slokas, then you have understood Gita, the essence of Gita. So Krishna is so kind and merciful that he says, if you have time, go through all the 700 slokas to understand what is my message. If not, just read these 4 and you will understand what is the message I'm trying to share. So I'll not spend time on reading the slokas. And this is something which I found very interesting. All of us start with this, whenever we have a doubt, we can't see God, we'll say God is nowhere. That too, when we are in trouble and no help is coming our way, we'll say God is nowhere. And then if you see that God is nowhere, after some time you suddenly realize God is now here. So nothing has changed. Our realization has changed. Now that is what Gita is trying to communicate to us. You continue living as you are, no changes, but then you realize my presence within you, and I am always here to help you. That is the first truth about Ishvara. Now we move to the second truth. I'll pause for a second here in case anyone has something which is a question which is very, very important for you to understand at this minute. Please feel free to ask.
Yeah, Mr. Shyam, Radha this side.
Hi Radha, good evening and welcome.
Good evening. You talked about Brahman to Paramatma to Bhagwan.
Yeah.
Now, I'm saying it is sequential, or you can directly jump to from one to, let's say, third one, or it has to be sequential.
No, it is not sequential. It is very clear. Now, if you are a bhakti yogi, you are a devotee, you go directly to Bhagwan. But if you are a jnani, your knowledge seeking discrimination in intelligence pushes you to say, show me, show me, show me. Then you get stuck to Brahman. If you are Paramatma devotee, now I am getting a message that this meeting will end in 10 minutes. Upgrade now to remove the 40-minute time limit. So what we will do, after 5 minutes, we will disconnect and redial again. Then I can continue for another 40 minutes.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Sure.
Okay.
So Radha, is this clear? So it is not sequential. We can go to Bhagwan as a devotee.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Now we'll skip this. We'll come to the second truth. Now we will keep a strict watch. 5:25. We'll disconnect because I had logged in 10 minutes early. So, and we'll all again dial back in and continue the class. So the second truth we are going to discuss now is Jiva. It is the most easiest for us to understand because we all are Jivas. And the Jiva is the bulb that I show you here. As long as the soul is within us, we are all alive, we are conscious. The moment the soul goes out of us, we are just a body. So this is the beauty of the soul. We are not just the body. If I were to describe a jiva, a human being, for example, in the same sequence it's present even in an animal or a bird. Every living being has the same set of things within them. So you have the soul and you have the super soul. We just talked about the Paramatma realization. What did I say? I said, in Paramatma, the Lord is a witness. So they are like two birds. One is the bird which is trying to enjoy all the fruits, and another is bird is trying to watch and trying to just observe. So whatever we do, it is recorded by the Lord. We can't escape his glance, his glimpse. So we should be very careful saying that, when Lord is within us, we should try to do all the right things rather than get into doing the non-right things. The most essential essence of Gita, the first message in second chapter, Krishna says, you are not the body, Arjuna, you are the soul. And this is something which looks so simple, but very difficult to understand. It took Krishna the whole of Gita to make Arjuna understand that you are not the body, you are the soul. And why was this conflict? Because Arjuna said, I will not fight. I don't want to kill my grandfather. I don't want to kill my teacher. I will stop fighting. But from that position, at the end of Gita, he said, Krishna, Vachanam Karishyati. I will implement whatever you ask me to do. So we are privy to the most important confidential knowledge to live in this world. And that is, we are not the body, we are the soul. Whatever miseries we suffer, whatever sufferings we go through, we should take this understanding. It is my body which is suffering. I am not suffering. I am eternal. And Krishna also says in 15.7, he says that you are part and parcel of me. Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke. That is what is Krishna's message. So it is not that we are trying to double guess. He is very clearly saying you are part of me. And the beauty of soul is it is Satchitananda. So we are just like a small particle of the Lord. How to understand this? The Lord is the ocean and I take a glass of water. Is there any difference in the quality between the glass of water and the ocean? I don't think so. It is same salty water if you taste it. But the ocean is mighty, the glass of water is tiny. He is infinitesimal, he is infinite, we are infinitesimal. So that's the difference between Paramatma and Atma. So we come from Paramatma. And he has given this description of soul, which is so enlightening. He says that the soul, there is no birth, no death. The soul is indestructible, unbreakable, insoluble, unchangeable, immovable, and eternal. So we should all take comfort in the fact when we are faced with miseries of this world that I am an eternal body, soul living in this body. I have to take this suffering in my stride. So I see my watch, it is 5:25. Shall we all log off and log back in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sure.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
This is a free version of Zoom, so we have to go through this pain. I am stopping.